Now let us see the view of the church. What does the church say, with regard to IVF? Okay. One, reproductive technology, which the church has clearly and unequivocally judged to be immoral, is in vitro fertilization or IVF. Unfortunately, most Catholics are not aware of the church teaching, or they do not know that IVF is immoral. And some have used it in attempting to have children, even Catholics. If a couple is unaware that the procedure is immoral, they are not subjectively guilty of sin. Someone went because they have no children, a couple, Catholic couple, imagine they are what you call Catholic, practicing faith, etc., going to church, etc., etc., but they are not aware of this IVF, and they went to IVF center, and the lady is pregnant and gave birth. Now they have children, they have child now. We can't find fault with them because they were unaware. They were unaware of this IVF. But having known, when you ignore and go, that is different. But you went by mistake. You were not aware of it. So they are not what you call subjectively guilty of sin. Children conceived through this procedure are children of God. We can't simply say, since they went to IVF and they have the child is of IVF, we can't simply deny the child. No, we can't do that. No. Children are of what you call children conceived through this procedure called IVF are children of God and are loved by their parents, as they should be. Like all children, regardless of the circumstance of their conception and birth, they should be loved, cherished, and they should be cared for. We can't simply deny because the child is being brought out from the vertical petri dish or in the lab, later implanted in the mother's womb. We can't simply deny it. Of course, the parents, they went because of their what you call they are not unaware of it. They were not unaware of it. What you call so they went, and anyway, they have children. Now we can't simply deny the child. We can't simply deny the child. Now let us see a small clip where the bishop speaks about the method of IVF and what does the church say with regard to IVF.
Archbishop Mark Coleridge, and you are watching Q&A, question and answer for the Catholic leader. One of the really sad things is to meet people who want to have children, often desperately want to have children, but who for one reason or another can't conceive or haven't been able to conceive so far. There's a real pathos to this situation. I mean, some people don't want to have children, but when people do want to have children and can't, it really has about it a very particular kind of pathos. And you can absolutely understand why in such a situation people would be tempted by the medical marvel that we call IVF, in vitro fertilisation. And given what IVF can do, it doesn't always, because it's a long and difficult and often anguishing and certainly costly process. But at the end of that, often there is a beautiful child, and no one denies that the child is beautiful. Given all of that, the question that's asked sometimes is, well, why does the Catholic Church dig its heels in and say that in vitro fertilisation is not the way to go? What's the problem? The problem is our understanding of conception and childbirth and how it's done. IVF is an essentially scientific approach to conception. It's the work of technology and a marvellous work in many ways. It's a medical response to a human problem. But what the Church insists, faithful to its vision of both marriage and childbearing, is that the conception is to be always the fruit not so much of technological manipulation, however marvellous, but of that profound personal intercommunication of man and wife in the bond of marriage. That's what sexual intercourse expresses, and that's what the child, who is the fruit of love, also expresses. And when you take conception and the child out of that context, we have a problem. The other difficulty, as far as the church can see, is that the process often involves what I would call a kind of collateral damage. Embryos are produced, but not all of them, in fact, are used, and some inevitably must be cast aside. And for the church, that amounts to a violation of human life. It might not be intended to be such, but it fails to respect the dignity of human life from the moment of conception. These embryos are not just to be disposed of, they are to be treated with the respect that human life always demands from the moment of conception. The other thing is that in many cases, though not all, there are other ways of addressing infertility and childlessness, and that sometimes the quick resort to the difficult and often anguishing process of IVF can mean that people don't even look at other options. The church says that other options exist and that they are worth exploring as a way of not only respecting human life in some general sense, but respecting the truth of marriage, that deep interpersonal communion between man and woman, between husband and wife, that produces the new life that comes from God.
The immorality of conceiving children through IVF can be difficult to understand and sometimes very difficult to accept, because the man and woman involved are usually married and trying to overcome a medical problem, that is infertility in their marriage. But the procedure does violence to human dignity and to the Marriage Act, and it should be avoided. But why? Exactly why IVF is immoral? That is what the bishop was explaining. The church admires and marvels the technology, the development that we are making today. Okay, the church is never against the science and technology, but when it comes to the question of human dignity, as he said, so many embryos are they are disposed, simply thrown in the dustbin. There comes the question of dignity and respect to human values. That is why the church is against the IVF method. That is what the bishop says. Now, obviously, IVF eliminates the Marriage Act as a means of achieving pregnancy instead of helping it achieve this natural end. It goes against the natural way of getting pregnant. Settling what you call fully made by the other man and the mission, not by the human there in the marital life. The new life is not engendered through an act of love between husband and wife, but by the laboratory procedure performed by doctors or so-called the technicians. Then what is the purpose of marriage? If I am getting married with my husband, the purpose of the end of marriage is to procreate, to multiply, also to love each other and be faithful. And after marriage, we decide, I don't want the sperms of my husband, I shall go to the third one, artificial insemination of the donor, not the husband. If that is the case, everyone can marry and they can take sperm from a donor or even from the other, what is husband, but not in the marriage union, not in the, everything is taking place in the lab, in the hospital. Then what is the purpose of marriage? So the union between husband and wife, the union of marriage is being questioned. Then there is no fun in what you call getting married in the church. In the presence of the faithful, in the presence of the congregation that you officially sign, you pronounce the marriage formula. When they make promises, and what is the fun? If everything is taking place in the hospital, what is the fun of getting a marriage, and what is the unity between husband and wife within the marriage? Husband and wife are merely sources for the raw materials, that is egg and sperm. If everything the technician hospital is going to decide, you are only what you call, you are giving your materials, raw materials, that is egg and sperm. You are not doing anything there. The third man decides everything. Nothing is taking place within the marriage. Everything is taking place in the hospital in the lab, which are later manipulated by the technician to cause the sperm to fertilize the egg. Not infrequently, donor eggs or sperms are used. No, we don't know. They are only take the sample. Later, the physician decides. Now, suppose imagine what you call, we want to have a children. Now, I want to have a child, but then my husband's sperms are not good enough. They are not strong. They are not affected. But then, doctor may not reveal to you. Doctor may not, instead of taking my husband's sperms, he might take, some others and say it is husband, and once you insert, sure, baby is formed and baby is there already. What are you going to do? You don't know whether the physician, the doctor had used whether my husband's sperm or some other. Because only he knows the truth, because he is working in the lab. That difficulty also we have. All that he wanted is he want to please the couple. He want to make sure the woman is bearing child. Woman is getting conceived and pregnant. So in that case, he knows what you call it. Or imagine sperms are good, but the egg is not that mature or not what you call technically possible to what you call form a life. So he takes the egg of some other women. Who knows? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Only the doctor who does the act, will know which is from whom. Okay, there is another danger in that. This means that the genetic father or mother of the child could well be someone from outside the marriage. Then what is the purpose of marriage? Getting married, living together. This can create a confusing situation for the child later when he or she learns that one parent raising him or her is not actually the biological parent. When the child comes up, when the child learns that my father is not actual, my father is somebody or unknown. Only that doctor, who did sperm and egg and what you call, who gave life in the lab, only he knows who gave the sperm or the egg. Once, I don't say which country and where. Once I visited a nursery, a kindergarten school. A 4 or 5 years old boy. When the director asked the boy, "What is the name of your father?" 5-year-old boy said, "Director, I have 3 fathers. Which father's name you want?" While in the admission or what you call in the class, when the director asked the boy, little boy of 5 years old, "What is the name of your father?" the father said, "I have 3 fathers. I have 3 names. Which of the 3 fathers you want?" Which means, maybe mother lived with one first, after being conceived and given birth. Maybe husband left or died, we don't know. Again, she lived with another. The child knows. The child knows. And again, he also left. Again, she went to the third one. So the child had seen at least 3 fathers in his life. Now the child says, "I have 3 fathers, director. Which father or which name you want me to say?" It's a difficulty or a situation, challenge that we are undergoing, not only in abroad, all over. Okay? Now, but even if the egg and sperm come from the husband and wife, a serious moral problems are arising. Invariably, several embryos are brought into existence. Okay? Only those which show the greatest promise of growing and life to the term are implanted in the woman's womb. The others are simply discarded, thrown away, or used for experiments. Later, they go on experimenting. Okay? This is a terrible offense, against human life. That is what the church says. While a little baby may ultimately be born because of this procedure, other lives are usually snuffed out in the process. You are giving birth to, giving chance to one sperm, one egg. But what about the other sperms, other eggs that are being what you call given life, in the lab? So many embryos are formed. The life begins once the embryo, forms or begins. So others are. They are thrown away or discarded. Now, in 1987, CDF, Congregation for Doctrine of Faith, issued a document known as Donum Vitae. No, that is translated into the gift of life. Now, you know that in the beginning of our class, no, I had given assignment on what? Gospel of life. Now, again, we shall do a small assignment of only one page. It is only 15 pages. Donam Vitae is only 15 pages. It takes about 40 minutes to read. It takes only 40 minutes to read. Even those who are watching on the YouTube online, it takes only 45 minutes to read. So kindly read Donam Vitae. It is really inspiring, enlightening what you call document. It addresses all the issues: abortion, what you call embryo cells, and what you call euthanasia. So very beautiful, worth reading. If you are not going to read now, you will not have chance again. You will not have chance. So let us read. It is only 15 pages. It takes about 45 minutes to complete, and make a summary along with the Evangelium Vitae. You have already one page of your personal reflection, personal summary. Now we shall have another second assignment, that is on what you call Donam Vitae. Search in the Google Donam Vitae. It's only 15 pages. Read, understand, and write your personal reflection. Only one page, about 20 or 25, 30 lines maximum. It takes another 15 minutes. So 45 plus 15. It's 1 hour 15 minutes. It's not a big work. Okay. So those who are online watching, please kindly note the point that you read Donam Vitae, and read, understand, and write your personal reflection. Okay. We shall see when we can submit, and we have time. We have still time. Now, CDF, what you call released is what you call Donam Vitae, that is a gift of life, which addressed the morality of many modern fertility procedures. The document did not judge the use of technology to overcome the what you call infertility as wrong in itself, but it concluded that some methods are moral, while others, because they do violence to the dignity of the human person and the institution of the marriage, are immoral. That is the reason what you call it. It said no to IVF. Donam Vitae reaffirmed an obligation to protect all human life when married couples use various technologies to try to have the children. Any embryos that are not used are usually frozen and kept. They may or may not be used eventually to try to achieve the implantation. But either way, according to Donam Vitae, their dignity is assaulted. Their dignity is what you call questioned, or they are destroyed. Donam Vitae teaches that if we are given medical intervention helps or assists the marriage act to achieve the pregnancy, it may be considered moral. Any technology, any medicine, any drugs that which respects the human dignity, human values, that which respects the marriage act is tolerated, is moral. But in the same technology, if the intervention replaces the marriage act in order to have the life, in order to have the children, it is not moral. Okay? It is not moral. The document speaks, that is Donam Vitae speaks, the right of every person to be conceived and be born within the marriage. Within the marriage and from the marriage. To be within and from the marriage, conception should occur or take place from the marriage act, which by its nature is ordered toward loving openness to life, and not from the manipulation of technicians or technology. The dehumanizing aspects of some of these procedures is evident in our society, in every language associated with them. There is the reproductive technology industry today. We are making business now. It's making big business and big commercial, where people flock and try to have the children, not even some couple, when they could do it naturally, but they go against their natural planning, natural relationship. They want to use the technology, they want to use the medicine, they want to use the modern industry to have children. Children are called the products of conception. Inherent in IVF is the treatment of children in their very coming into being as less than human beings. Artificial insemination and in vitro fertilization are two of many procedures today that change or substitute our what you call human reproduction by sexual relationship and gestation in the uterus of the mother. They are different but share many challenges that question their moral validity. Artificial insemination is the insemination of a woman by injection of the sperm of her husband or of another donor. That is what we learned in our last class. IVF, that is fertilization outside the woman's body using the sperm of the husband or another donor. The gametes of the woman's ovum and the male's sperm are united, and the conception takes place in a laboratory container where the first stages of new human growth takes place in the lab. Soon, the developing embryo is transferred or implanted to the another environment, usually the mother's womb, for continuing the development or gestation until the time of birth. Now, the church considers the IVF and other artificial insemination morally unacceptable for at least 3 fundamental reasons. We shall see what are the 3 reasons why the church say no. First, from the time of the ovum is fertilized, a separate human life has begun that has its own identity and dignity. Commercial, scientific and other procedures often performed on the lives begun in vitro, it violates the respect and physical and spiritual reverence owed to those lives who are given life in a petri dish, in a lab. So they also have the dignity, they also have the respect, they also have their physical body. Though they are small, but still they have their physical body. Though it cannot be rejected or cannot be discarded. Okay, this is the first reason. The second reason, the IVF procedures particularly involve producing a number of zygotes, fertilized ova. Some or all are usually placed in a womb, but one or few of them usually die in one way or the other. In some procedures, this involves direct killing of human lives. In others, it may not. At the very least, it is wrongly places the human life in high risk of death. While implanting also, we don't know how many he is going to implant and how many he is taking back the tube. We don't know. It's question of just pushing it, the injection, and things are injected, implanted, and how many, we don't know how many are getting successful inside and how many are simply spread when outside the uterus. We don't know. Depends on the technology and the man who performs. It all depends on him. And the third reason, and this process is of initiating new human life is a subversion of the dignity and unity of marriage and of the integrity of natural and necessary parental relationship with the children as they come into the world. When the children come to know that my life, or I was formed by another man outside my mom's womb, surely the children will have its own psychological disorders or problem. So always they demand that it should be formed. Children have the right to be conceived in the mother's womb, not outside. Later you bring it to mother's body. No. Finally, the Catholic Church holds that any reproductive technology should not be a substitute. It can't replace for the marital act, but should assist the marital act. It is the fact that the advancement of the science and technology, particularly in the field of reproductive technology, is very positive and indeed a blessing for human welfare. As I said, science and technology is growing like anything. So fast, it is so helpful, so promising to human life, to extend our human life or any sickness, anything you get, immediately go, approach a doctor, get medicine, get well, you cure well there and there. But then, however, the use of such technologies must be made responsibly, for the good of the entire humanity, by avoiding all manipulations and possible discriminations, by protecting the dignity of all human beings, and by respecting the sacredness and the inviolability or the holiness of all human lives from the conception until the natural death. In the Christian understanding, all human beings are equal, in dignity, and they are equal in the right to life, and every person has, as a God-given right to be born with the dignity and to live with dignity. Okay. Finally, this is the picture. Someone asked me yesterday, what if my husband, who is a soldier, dies in a war? Dies in a war. We just newly married. In a month, he happens to join the military, and he dies in a war by accident. Now, as a wife, as a woman, I have the right to take the sperm of my husband who is already died. Can I implant it? It's artificial insemination. Can I do it? That's the question. Now, when I went through the books and other articles on the internet, I found that U.S. soldier's widow has sperm taken from his dead body to try and have a miracle child. He is a soldier who died in an accident. A U.S. soldier's widow has succeeded in having sperm taken from her husband's dead body and frozen after he was killed in Iraq, in the hope that she can have his baby from the sperm from her husband. Experts believe it is highly unlikely she will be able to bear his child because the sperm only remains active for a few hours after the death. But she is hoping she could be inseminated as early as possible, and possibility of bearing child, possibility of conceiving. We don't know the result. What happened? She appealed in the court, and the court said, okay, in US, but then the man died. Man died already 2-3 days. The experts and physicians, doctors say that the sperms will not survive after particular hours of the death. But then when the body reached from Iraq to States, already it was 2 or 3 days. But then she wanted give a try, and it could be inseminated in her womb, and there is a she desired for the possibility of the child from the husband. Okay, we don't know the result, what happened, but there are many cases coming in where the couple or the the woman desire to have the sperm of her own husband when the husband dies in a war, husband dies in an accident, or other cases.